It's a very broad question. I mean,
And the yield, I can give you an example. Last year, there's a certain, when the crop grows, there's a fertilization stage. When they produce these pollens, and it has to fertilize the ovary to come up with the grain. Last year there was one incident when the farmers, now knowing that Pakistan is exporting around $4 billion of rice to the West.
Since Pakistan's agro-based economy.
What they saw that, okay, it's a big market, India banned its rice, so we had a bigger market. So they were trying to have two crops. For two crops, they were trying to sow it early. You would see in March never used to be that hot. So there's a sudden spike in temperature. So they had these nursery raised in March, and then they transplanted in April, and it grew in May to a stage where it reached the fertilization stage. So the pollens are very temperature sensitive. So the temperature spiked, and all the pollens that it produced were all killed because it cannot withstand high temperatures. So then the rice ovaries didn't have any to fertilize. So the crop was there, but there was no grains on it last year, and it was over 40% loss in yield in rice.
40%.
In the first crop, 30 to 40% crop loss. So that's just one example. It can happen the same in maize. The top thing that you see. Have you seen the corn field or the corn field? There's a tassel up there.
Yeah, of course.
That's the male part of it.
Okay.
So
but maybe, I mean, you're studying the problem, this climate change issue. For me, the first thing to do is also to be cautious about not always blaming climate change, to put everything on the back of the climate change. Let's keep in mind that there is always climate variability. And there has been always, alternance of drought floods. So what we are seeing right now is indeed more floods, more droughts here. So for sure. But first, what you need to do is to be very careful, not always to blame climate change. I mean, last year, what was striking to me is that we got a very dry winter. Okay, it was very dry, no rain. But I was asking to get the data. I mean, we need to check over the last 50 years. How much time, what is the frequency of this happening? Was it really the first time? Apparently, yes. So that's where you can say, climate change might be striking. Because apparently, for the first time, there was not a single rain during the winter. So yes, that might be the case. What we see also is clearly, and the statistics are confirming that, but again, you need to use the statistics. Not to jump on the conclusion like all the media, the TV, climate change, okay, but let's check the statistics. And what we see is that indeed the heat in spring is coming earlier than in the past. So this is true. But again, we need to have the statistics to confirm that, not to do that based on what the media are reporting and including what the farmers are saying. Because what is common everywhere in the world is that the farmers are always complaining. Yes, they are poor, but they are always complaining, including in my country. They are always complaining. You saw them in the streets, with their tractors and always complaining, getting subsidies but still complaining. So for me, what is important is to be scientifically rigorous and go to the statistics, to go to the data. And yes, heat is coming earlier, but let's check the statistics. Yes, we have drier winters, but okay, let's do that based on the statistics here. Okay, so
and these cycles, as you said, it should be based on the like if this was a recurrent event in 3 years, now let's see what is the frequency now. How often is this happening? Is it happening every 2 years? If it used to happen every 10 years, now, for instance, it's happening every 2 years. And there is always some, like in the start of the season, they say, okay, this year is going to be La Nino, and there will be 20-30% higher rains. So they actually know it's coming.
So, and then heavy rains between Balochistan and Sindh, and they calculated the probability of this event, and they said, it's once every 400 years.
Once every 400 years.
You can imagine. So then they said, you can blame maybe climate change for this occurring now. So they are checking events like that
Yep.
Yeah.
and giving you the probability of this event to occur, and then to tell you, yeah, this is, you can assume that it's linked to climate change.
It should be it should be backed by some substantive evidence.
Evidence.
So-
Some data.
What changes in temperature patterns have you observed and how do they impact farming in the country?
So my question is back to you. Have you checked the statistics? So you need to go to the statistics. You need to go to the weather or the meteorological department and get the full range of data over the last 30 years
Yeah.
Yeah.
of temperature and check. Yeah.
But we've seen ourselves, right? For the last 2 years, the floods have hitting Pakistan very, hard. They're very harsh.
2 years.
2 years. in a
We
row.
don't make statistics on 2 years. Yeah.
But you were
But-
you were a young man when in 2010 it was worse than that.
It was worse than this.
They do service on a longer period of time.
So yeah, it happens, but it's more the frequency is now is higher.
It's higher.
Yeah.
But so if you're asking me the question, I mean, I can go in my data and check that the temperature is increasing. But I'd like you to go and get the data and
Yeah.
analyze the
We would
statistics.
definitely do that.
Yeah.
So please do it and check that. And it might be different from GB to SIN.
Yeah, it varies. The issue here is we don't have a lot of data points either.
Yeah.
The usual government department has few data collection sites in provinces in 1-2 places. Yeah, so that's another issue that we are facing.
From centuries, from millions of years, climate has been changing. When we talk about climate change, and when we talk about human-induced climate change, the major impact is that the frequency of events happening what would happen in once in 400 years will now maybe happening in 1 in 50 years.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
So the extreme events, the frequency of that has reduced. The time lag between one extreme event and the second extreme event has come down, and that does have an impact on a number of things. So you were talking about crop yield. One of the things that you also need to look at it because as the temperature changes, so does the pests and all these things which can
Diseases,
actually
pests, yeah.
impact
Yeah.
the crop yield. Also, so for example, something which because the habitat of some pest, if let's say is an area where the temperature is between 20 and 30 degree, as the areas where the average temperature increases, and they also then become habitat, and that crop yield that will also impact the crop yield. So over
So just getting back at you, you said climate change is not to be blamed for everything.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So who is to blame? Who's to be blamed for it? What's the
The
solution?
climate variability. Yeah. But I can give you an example from my country.
Yeah.
We are recording now over the last 10 years an invasion of the tiger mosquito.
Mhm.
So everybody is blaming this mosquito is spreading now over France.
Mhm.
But the origin of this mosquito in France, it was not a species of France.
Yeah.
It's not because of climate change.
Yeah.
It's because we were importing
Mhm.
all tires from the US in Italy over the last 30 years. And with those tires, this tiger mosquito was there, coming, and then started spreading from Italy to the southern part of France. And now it's speeding up, accelerating because of climate change. But the origin is not always climate change.